Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Business of Paintball Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Anderson, also known as Swamp Fox. I have another channel called Swamp Fox MagFed, but this is going to be a little different. We are going to be interviewing people who are involved in paintball business, whether it is a field owner, whether it is a paint distributor, whether it is a supply guy. The purpose of this channel is to tell the story behind the businesses, and that way it creates a little bit more of, you get to see a little bit more of the people behind the businesses. And that way my hope is that we can create a community who are all about promoting our sport and helping us grow. So for this very first episode, we have the one, the only Mr. Hormesis himself, Alex Fraige, one of my probably top paintball players of all time. And so it was a really big honor just to be able to sit down and interview him. And I hope you guys like the episode. We did hit a couple kinks. It is the very first time I've done a podcast, and so we're hoping to improve on these as we move forward, but I don't think it's super bad for the very first episode. So we've got a lot more coming your way, and we hope you guys enjoy this as much as we do. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the podcast with Mr. Alex. And I hope you guys enjoy, and remember, keep it positive and productive. Back for the very first episode of the Business Paintball Podcast with Mr. Alex of Dynasty. I thank you very much for being here with us and taking time out of your day. I've got a couple questions for you. We've got 10 questions that will hopefully shine some light on the business side of paintball and some of the faces behind our current companies. And so our first question for you, again, thank you for being here. Our first question is, what is the current company or companies that you are involved in with paintball?
First off, I just want to say thanks. I think this is great what you're doing, and any type of, interesting content that people are making, I'm all about it. So I'm super happy that people in our community are passionate enough to want to create something to share with the rest of the community, and I think that that's awesome. So thanks for that, Ian, and props to you. So yeah, I mean, the companies I'm involved in are obviously first and foremost San Diego Dynasty, which is our paintball team that we've had for over 20 years, and it was founded by 10 players, and those were the players that I think in our second year we established the company, and the players owned the entire team. So we realized at a certain point that there was value in the team itself and what we were doing, and we took the necessary steps to protect that. So that was our first business, and really our prime business objective was to run the paintball team. We didn't really go out and make our own products and compete with our sponsors. We always just said, okay, we're a paintball team, and that's what we do. We don't really manufacture stuff. We're not, because we watched other people in the paintball business do that, and it kind of took the fun out of it for them. I mean, obviously it can be a means to an end where you start the team and then you can capitalize on it, which is something we're trying to do a little bit now. But the goal there is to make sure that the team exists into the future. So the San Diego Dynasty. And then after that, we've got Field One, which is the company that makes the Force, the paintball guns that we use. And we started that about 5 years ago and ended up absorbing Bob Long's company, who we have a great relationship with. And, he was instrumental in, kind of teaching a lot of us about paintball, at least the tournament side of it growing up. And he was tired of being in the business and wasn't paying attention to it anymore, and really wasn't motivated to do it. So he said, hey, why don't you guys do it? So he basically showed us everything he knew about building paintball guns and why they do what they do and how they do what they do. And we, did our best to create something that we wanted to use. And that was our drive there. Is the Force is a gun that we said, okay, what do we want in a gun? Okay, here are the features that we want. And then we work with designers to make that happen. And so far it's been going pretty well. It's still very small. It's just me, Yosh, and Eric, and Ryan sometimes, designing, building, and we have an engineer who's really good. and doing all the customer service and the assembly and all that stuff. So it's very hands-on. And then on top of that, we've got Hormesis, which kind of just took off in the past year and a half. And I feel like, I all of those projects, are different but similar. And the similarity is the reason that we're involved in them is because we want to do them. It's not something that we looked at initially and said, hey, this is how we can make the most money. It just wasn't that. It was, hey, we like this, we love this, we want to be a part of this. And that's the reason why we got into it.
Nice. That's awesome. And I feel like too, I'm starting to learn in my professional career that when you've put passion first, the money and things like that are just a byproduct of doing something you love. And so early on, I feel like it's easy to chase those things for a monetary gain. You want this end result, and the reality of it is you have to enjoy the work and enjoy the process and really focus on what that means and what it stands for, and everything else is just kind of a byproduct of, pursuing the right things, I guess.
And many times it doesn't work like that. I mean, I could love music and want to be a music producer and work on it, and it just never happens, right? Monetarily.
True. Yeah.
Never happen.
Yeah.
And that could very well happen here. The paintball gun thing might not work out. But it might work out. Either way, we're trying our best at it, and we like it and we believe in it.
Yeah.
Those things don't necessarily mean it's going to be successful. I do appreciate that the people that do that really, go all in on something, and no matter what other people say around you, hey, what is this paintball thing? When are you going to stop doing that? Your parents might tell you that's lame. You got to go and, become an accountant.
An adult.
That's the thing. Yeah. It's a thing that's real. I've experienced something like that, and so have a lot of people I know in the community. And the people that are influencing you aren't necessarily wrong. They're just trying to look out for you, right? But you've got your passion. So we were lucky enough to be able to really kind of go all in on it. And we, Dynasty started it at the right time, and in the kind of lineage of paintball history, that it was just right at that time to where we could kind of ride this wave of the sport changing and evolving. And then Dynasty became a household name. And really the rest of this is just kind of, riding on the back of that. And I am grateful for that. And, we're doing our best to capitalize on that now. And, it's in a way that I feel like, we're doing our best to do it the right way, and do the best by our fans and by our supporters and by the paintball community, and make it interesting and fun, and something that we would have liked to have had when we were coming up in the sport.
I can still remember, I think I was thinking about today when we were prepping for the interview, and I remember the first time as a kid, I started playing in the late 90s and doing the Young Guns circuit and things like that. And I can remember DVDs back then were so expensive, $30, and it was like paint or a DVD. And sometimes me and my buddies would throw together to get one that we'd share, and everyone would watch it the night before you go play. And I think one of the first times I saw you guys as like superstars, it was that 2002 World Cup, that last 10-man. And I think one of the biggest games that stands out that I remember of yours in particular was when you guys were playing Strange. I want to say it was like the semifinals. It was on that Smart Parts field that was super open, and they had this one diamond, and time was running out, and everyone was low on paint. And I think you and SK were up in this like diamond, and there were super few bunkers, and you just ran all the way down the sideline, and it was like that last little bit, and you hit all three people in the back line. And it was like, that was like the first time where it was like, whoa, and I still have that DVD.
That's so crazy.
In my...
I remember that game more vividly than I do a game from last tournament. It's really still in my mind, because I was, that was a time that was so formative for me. And yeah, I just remember that, because again, was crazy and Strange. You couldn't just do a move like that on those guys. And I got
No.
super lucky because I feel like the guy in the back left was so far away. And it was at that point in the game where it was like everyone was a little bit low on paint and no one could put it in. Like I just rolled the dice with it and ended up, you know.
Yeah, it was, oh man, yeah, that was that first time, it was like, that made me want to get an angel, it was like, man, I need an angel, I need the 12 volt. I still have the 12 volt and a couple other pieces, but it's just, there's certain little moments and times. And when I was sitting down and thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about today, that was one of those things that really kind of just jumped out as those, like, that profound memory.
I have moments like that for me, that happened right when I saw Push for the first time and I met those guys for the first time, and that, very influential moments that I can reflect on that made me want to do this. And it's a cool thing because it's paintball small enough to where those people are really accessible. I mean, not all of them are nice guys, but whatever. It's cool. You can still walk up to, if you go to a paintball tournament, you can walk up to LaSoya and be like, hey man, hey Chris LaSoya, what's up?
Yeah, you can get some donuts and meet can't think of his name now. He's got Dilly Donuts.
Oh, Frank?
Yeah. I was like, no, that's not Frank. I was like, holy cow, he's selling donuts. Like, that's crazy. Just paintball everywhere. Cool. No, but that's awesome. Okay, so for my next question, what are some of the early companies you were involved with outside of Dynasty, obviously?
So really, I mean, I wasn't really involved in any companies. I just was a kid and liked playing paintball and went to school and, went out to the paintball field and we would ref for part of on Saturday we'd ref, and then on Sunday we get a half a case of paint and get to play for free as payment. So, and actually Eric Crandall, the guy who owned the field back then, who was a kid himself, and he's much more entrepreneurial than we are. He was 19 and owned the local paintball field, which is pretty amazing. And incidentally, he was also the coach of my little sister's softball team. So I was like, hey, don't I know you from somewhere at the softball field? And he's like, yeah, Eric from the paintball field. So, kind of serendipitous the way that worked out. And, we're still very good friends and business partners now. So, yeah, I'd say, he's much more business minded than I am. I would consider myself more of, creative minded, but again, like you need to have, if you have a business, you've got to be thinking about your business if you want it to succeed for the most part. So it's been educational and I mean, being around my dad was an entrepreneur and a businessman too. So just being around him growing up was certainly instrumental in my education in how to be a business person.
And that was Great American Paintball?
So actually, yeah, he made his money in the waterbed business. So he invented the waveless waterbed back in the 60s.
Waterbeds, wow.
Yeah, so he had a patent on this is like a piece of fiber that goes inside the waterbed that controls the viscosity or the movement of the bed. So if you wanted the waterbed to, have less motion, then you put a bigger piece of fiber in it. So yeah, he was in that business for vinyl fabrication for a long time. And then, in the 90s, waterbeds kind of became unpopular because, it's a huge pain in the ass to have a waterbed, and people that own apartment buildings,
I always wanted a waterbed.
Don't want their tenants having a waterbed because it could leak, and it's like, come on. So yeah, and then the paintball project for him was really a way to connect with me, beyond our current relationship, because my parents were splitting up, and he said, hey, we got into paintball together. And my dad said, okay, I think that he saw it as a business opportunity. And he said, yeah, I mean, people buy these cases of paint for, at the time, $80-$90 and go out there and shoot them, and you can't reuse them. So it's not too bad of an idea to get into that business. But right around that time, the market kind of got saturated. A bunch of people got in, prices went way down, and his business model really didn't work. But what was great, which I really think the real reason he was doing it was for, to improve our relationship and to you know, support the team and the guys, because he was close with all the guys on the team as well. So he's super influential in that part of it.
That's awesome. Man, I remember, I mean, that dynasty, that banana ball, man. Banana ball was the stuff. Absolutely. What's the first company or like ad you remember for paintball? Anyone in particular stand out?
I mean, yeah, the Eric Felix jump kick. I think the 97 JT catalog. I have one somewhere. I don't know, it's upstairs maybe. But yeah, it's Eric Felix. It's a JT catalog. I think 97 or maybe 98. I'm pretty sure it's 97. It's Eric Felix holding the flag, one hand with an auto cocker, blasting and doing like a jump kick through the air. And I was like, oh my God. Like that is
man.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely that. Still, I mean, I could probably draw it if I had to.
Yeah, I can remember back in the day that, I mean, for me, it was a little bit later. You know, it was the national paintball magazines. I think my first paintball gun was a Rebel, when you could order everything from the full color
Yeah.
catalogs.
Yep.
And then that JT,
package deal.
Yeah. And then they had that JT hardbound book, and it had like those yellow and black bags in it. It had all the flexes with the bottoms and the colors and that stuff. I mean, back then it was like, you know, with no internet and none of that, it was just that was your grail, and you flipped through it till it got dog-eared.
Yep, totally. I had my action pursuit games and my JT catalog inside my history book in high school.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so question number 4. What was your first product collaboration? I mean, or something that you contributed on? I'm sure as, you know, as a pro player, you guys get approached to help give input. Do you remember your first one that you had some hand in?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in art and design and learned how to use, you know, some programs that you can use to design things. And I did some collaborations with JT early on, and then also with NXE, we did like a custom harness and some other custom bottle cover. I did some t-shirt designing for this company called Encounter. Eclipse, actually the first graphic anodized gun they did was one of my designs. And yeah, I ended up doing a bunch of stuff with them when we were sponsored by them. So yeah, I mean, I've done a bunch of collaborations over the years, and definitely enjoy, you know, being able to see something I created on an actual product. That's you know, an amazing thing to see. So you know, that's certainly rewarding.
Cool. Yeah. Now, as a pro player, do you feel like you're automatically kind of approached to collaborate on things, or is it an opportunity you have to pursue if that's something you want to be involved in, you know, outside of the playing field?
Yeah, I mean, it could work both ways. I mean, you know, I'm a pro paintball player, and yes, you know, when we get sponsored, they use our likeness in ads and stuff like that, and we represent them on and off the field, and we're aware of that. But there's another side of it to where, you know, if you have the ability to design something and you can bring more to the table, then that goes beyond just being a pro paintball player. So no, not everyone, you know, has that going. But then you could get a guy like Ryan who doesn't design anything, but he's creative, and he could say, hey, I want it to look like this and like that, and then they make it for him, right? And then that works too. So yeah, I've been approached by companies, you know, outside of our sponsor, our, you know, realm of sponsorship to help do stuff, and I'm happy to do that. I mean, I want to create and make cool things and work with people that I like.
That's awesome. Now, do you feel like there can be a gap bridge, like with people like Ryan, like if you were to create, I don't know, some sort of company or group within the pro community, that for those guys that are a little bit more idea based, that you could do kind of like the engineering side of the house? Do you think something like that would help with more people contributing? It would help the growth a little bit, or do you feel like?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like playing on a paintball field, right? Like, I'm going to go to the snake. Yosh isn't going to go there. So, you know, Ryan isn't going to, you know, do the tech drawings, He's not going to sit there in front of the computer and design it. But what he can do and what he's great at is, talking to people and marketing and those type of things. So everyone has their strength, and you've got to play to that. And I feel like it's like this. I mean, there's a debate kind of going on with child education that I was reading about. And, when you're in public school, if you're not good at math, they say, hey, you need to practice your math. You need to double down on math, instead of saying, hey, you're really, really good at English. Let's forget math and let's put you in double English, because that's your strength, right? Maybe you're not going to be a mathematician, but it doesn't work like that in public school, because, there's these state, goals that they have to meet, and the students have to get a certain grade and stuff like that. But there's a much more progressive way of thinking about that actually applies much more to real life in your job, right? If you end up being a carpenter, it doesn't matter if you know how to, do trigonometry.
Yeah.
So, it's like that. You want to find the right job for the right person. And I feel like in a business, that sort of thing kind of reveals itself if you just don't force it, especially in something like this, where, you're kind of a public thing with a paintball team, right? Like the players that you want on your team are going to come to you. You don't need to go out and force people and same in business, right? Like this guy, David Rome, who does a lot of our, like the video stuff you see for Hormesis and Dynasty. I mean, he's a paintball guy. He came and said, hey man, I'm really into paintball. Like I do this designing or video work, and I want to help you guys. And, it's just a very natural thing. And, I kick him down headbands and Dynasty swag and whatever. And we're buds, and just very kind of harmonious, but also business. So, I think that there's a balance, and finding that is important in not trying to force. But then, sometimes you do have to force it. You have to say, I've got to get my product out. I've got a deadline and this and that. And we're not really that type of business. I mean, yet I hopefully, one day, I don't have aspirations to do that, because that's when the fun gets drained. But, I feel like, it's as long as it seems natural and fun, that's the way you want to go.
Yeah. Almost kind of creating that network of people that just kind of help build each other. And like you said, create that kind of symbiotic relationship where everyone's moving in the same direction, and, you've got your focus. And
that's why I love all these projects that are going on right now, that with like Marcelo and Ryan and everyone's Kyle Sticka, these guys, Sam Monville's doing his thing, and Joy Paintball, and you got Tank Dangle, and like just these weird little things that are all created by people that care. And they didn't start what they started because they thought they was going to make them rich. They started what they started because they wanted to do it, just like you're doing this now. I mean, it's something you care about, and it's interesting, and that's meaningful to you. And if it's meaningful to you and you're passionate about it, someone else is going to want to see it.
Yeah. And, truthfully, like Ryan's show and PTG, they were big influences, because just the ability for them to create a community around the things that they love. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And, I feel like with this, the business side is a big thing. And so if we can bring all these like-minded people together and create this network of people building each other, the hopes, we can go to the moon, the sky's the limit. And that's really kind of what the whole point of it is.
And it really is wild, because for so long in paintball, these companies have just been fighting and suing each other, and just, it's just been really unfortunate to watch going through the years, because ever since I started playing, it's been like that in the industry. People trying to just take each other out, instead of realizing that, hey, maybe he's my competitor in business, but if we help each other a little bit, or at least not sue each other, then maybe things would be all right, So kind of, at least with Hormesis, we're trying to embrace that, right? Like, Sandana is like our competitor, which it's not, right? They just make headbands too. So we say, hey man, you know, I'm buds with Mark Barolo, who owns Sandana, and we make products together. And we say, hey man, let's make this a statement to, hey, you know, maybe we're competitors, but let's work together anyway, and then we can be friends and competitors. So
Yeah.
you know, that's
No, I dig that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is awesome too, especially with all the stuff that you guys are doing. You see these little glimpses. And I mean, I can remember the 2000s when the X was suing Y because of what they were using. And it was just, I mean, it was that cannibalization from within. And it's just, you know, we'd like to push that, you know, more evolved mindset of we can all grow together. And like you said, we can still compete, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you got to completely wreck or ruin, you know,
and then
another competitor.
When outside industry, and I've witnessed this, outside industry people come in and they're like, hey, let me look at this paintball thing. Like maybe we could put this on TV. Maybe we could bring some real sponsors here. And then they sit in a meeting with these guys together, and then they're like, oh, okay. You know, they don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
So, you know, there needs to be a unified front and you know, people that are willing to make a sacrifice for, you know, the greater good at some point. And really, it's a lot of the times not really a sacrifice. It just appears like one. But yeah, it is an unfortunate thing that I've you know, witnessed for 20 years, and maybe one of these days people will come around, but I'm not too hopeful. But the little guys are, you know, like, you know, because we're in it like this little community, right? Like the little businesses are, they're I feel like willing to work together. Like Archie, right? He has this project paintball thing. You know, he's like, hey, where'd you make those things that you have there? I said, oh, this guy here, I'll hook you up with them. You know, make your own. You know, here's my tech drawing. This is how we made them. You know, go for it. You know, and then I'm like, hey, who designed that for you, Archie? And he's like, oh, this guy here. Here's his number, right? Like, I mean, what's the harm, right? I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, and I'm excited. I've been chatting with Archie a little bit, and he's going to come on sometime after Philly, and it's really exciting, like I said, because there is so many grassroots companies now, and you know, we can create kind of a united front, and you know, you put a face behind the companies and realize that it's all the same type of people just pushing the love of the sport. And I think sometimes that gets lost in product and sales, and so if we can really kind of humanize those people in the hopes that, you know, we're all the same.
And it all started like that. I mean, JT started like that. John Gregory was, you know, motocross guy, and he's like, or BMX, and he said, you know, I'm into this, and he loved it. And then, you know, eventually over the years it becomes a business, and then people acquire it, and then it changes hands, and then it's just a Darth Vader of what it once was, you know. So
the empire, yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I mean, I'm not dogging JT. I mean, I love the brand and the company. It's in really good hands now, but that's just the way that some of these things go.
Yeah, man. So you kind of touched on this a little bit for this next question, but if you want to elaborate a little bit more, at what point in your career or in your time in paintball did you realize the importance of the business side of it?
The importance of it, I think early on, you know, around probably 2002, when Dynasty became a business, you know, we realized that it was important. And, you know, I know my dad was also instrumental in that. And he said, hey, you guys got to protect yourselves here. You know, what's going on with this? And, you know, helped us out and, you know, securing our IP and being able to negotiate with our sponsors and, you know, trying to do it in the most professional way possible, which was kind of unheard of in paintball, at least at that time. You know, a paintball company would bring you a contract, and it would, if you brought it to any attorney, they would say like, this is not okay, you know? so, you know,
yes,
I feel like, you know, at least we were the first outfit, because a lot of the teams were factory teams, right? They weren't just a paintball team that was a paintball team. It was like All Americans was the Smart Parts factory team. Aftershock was the, you know, I guess they were just their own team, but they had you know, Rennick behind them, who owned a big paintball field. And it's just, you know, there was always, you know, it wasn't a lot of independent teams coming out to sponsors and saying like, hey, you know, we need a deal. Like, and then that started happening around, you know, Avalanche and, you know, and then us and then, you know, there's kind of this flicker of, all right, this could be real. And then, you know, it's waxed and waned over the years.
Do you feel like it's more important to have more factory teams or more independent teams, or a balance of both?
I mean, I really like the idea of the independent team thing, but now if you look at some of the like I'm really a big fan of the team itself becoming the brand. So, you know, like Infamous, I mean, they've done a fantastic job of that. And they've taken the team and they've spun it with obviously the help of Travis, who's, you know, he's the business guy, right? He knows where to get stuff made. He knows how to make it. And then Callie Rudolph is a designer. I mean, he's got a good eye. He knows how to brand things. He knows what people want. He's like, you know, and he's a pro paintball player. So it really works. There's a symbiotic relationship there that results in great products. So yeah, I mean, shout out to Pro DNA, and what those guys are doing is great. I think I'm a fan of it, and I hope they grow it, and I hope Infamous lives on. And if you look at teams that are just teams and don't end up doing something like that, they die. And that's what, you know, we're trying to do now with Dynasty, is be able to secure the future of the team.
No, I dig that. Yeah, Infamous. I mean, I can remember when they came on the scene, and it was a whole crazy, like, I mean, they're wearing yellow, you know, back then yellow was, yes, but they made yellow cool, you know, totally. Yellow and black and
spray paint logo and everything. Totally. I mean, they had the image already back then. It's just, they didn't capitalize on it. Right.
Yeah.
It's not because they didn't want to, it's just because, you know, they didn't have you have to have the right pieces of the puzzle. And it took Travis going and working for a bunch of different paintball companies and Callie working for some different paintball companies. And then eventually they looked at each other probably and said like, hey, let's do this ourselves. And started really small with some small projects. And then now they're growing and growing and you know, eventually they'll be a faceless monster. I'm just kidding.
Man, I can't remember what magazine it was from, but it was a picture of you and you had the sign and it was like, LaSoya, can we play with you? Or like, we're real good, you know, or whatever it was. And
yeah, that was another sign. It wasn't my sign, but that was Paint Magazine. That's a Chris Diltz photo. And yeah, it says like, LaSoya, we're good. Can we be on your team or something like that?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. And it's just, again, one of those little like glimpse moments that you kind of remember over all the years. And man, crazy. Okay, so back to it. My next question: who are some of your business mentors, paintball or otherwise?
Well, first of all, my dad. He was an entrepreneur, brilliant mind, you know, very mathematical, engineering type of mind. You know, being able to witness him and how he solved problems in business and with products themselves was an amazing opportunity, and I'm grateful for that. And also his interaction with people, right? He understood that, you know, a lot of business is about managing people, and his employees loved him, and he was a part of his employees' lives, and you know, he truly did care. So, you know, I like to say that I care about, you know, the people in my life, in my business life and personal life, which happen to be the same people. And you know, I do, and I care about the community and our customers and people that believe in us. So, you know, I don't take that for granted. And it's not like, you know, I'm making Pepsi and just want to sell it to as many possible people as I can, and I don't care who they are, and I just want to sell the cans. It's, you know, I believe in what I'm doing, and I want people to share in that. And then also I would say Chuck Hench, who was one of the founding members of Dynasty. He was
had that hair, man.
Yeah, the surfer dude. But he was a good businessman. I mean, he was, you know, he cared also. And then let's see, along the way, I got to witness guys like Bud Orr, you know, definitely a business mentor, Bob Long. I mean, he really kind of changed the landscape of paintball technology. So did the guys at WDP. They just did it in a very different way. So yeah, I mean, being able to be around that was and even Smart Parts, they did it their way too. So yeah, seeing all those guys, I would consider all of them mentors to me.
Yeah, man, those are a lot of big names you dropped there. a lot of, I mean, just thinking back,
yeah, to be able to know
you
them.
know, like it's crazy. That
Like
is absolutely
if I have a
crazy.
question for Adam Gardner, I could call him up and ask him. I play in a fantasy football league with him.
And like I said, you just see all these faces as a kid, and it's just, you see them in real life. And it's like, I mean, even you guys, it's like, oh, like, and I know you guys are, you're very down to earth people, but man, it's like some of those, like, Budor messaged me happy birthday this year. And I was like, whoa, Budor just sent me a message, happy birthday. I'm like, damn, that just kind of made my day, and it's so, it's just,
that guy's amazing.
It's absolutely crazy. Just where it's come and the people it's produced and the relationship it creates. Paintball truly is a magical thing. Oh, let's see. What would you say is your favorite company of all time? I mean, I know obviously the ones that you're involved in now are probably pretty high up there, but companies that may not be in business anymore, or
paintball,
any of those.
Any company.
How about we do one for paintball and then we can do one for like any.
Gosh, I mean, obviously Great American Paintballs, which was my dad's paintball company that made paint for Dynasty. Got to put them first because they made the best paintballs, and it really did give us an edge in competition because nobody else had the paint. It wasn't like Avalanche could get it at the tournament. You couldn't go buy it. We shipped it ourselves to the tournament, stored it in our hotel rooms, and we were the only ones that had it. So, and it was the best.
That's awesome.
So that's an amazing thing. And then, WDP, the guys who made the Angel, they were a great company. Sad to see them not be in business anymore. So yeah, I'd say those two are probably my two favorite companies. Outside of paintball, I'd have to put some more thought into it. I don't know, Nintendo.
Man, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, got a lot of good memories with Nintendo. Absolutely. Dig it. Okay. I know is there anyone out there now that you would like to collaborate with that you haven't, paintball or otherwise? Either through Hormesis or Field One.
I'd like to do a collab with Hormesis and Field One. That would be cool. Or even Hormesis and Eclipse. Like I like what the stuff Archie's doing there. And maybe do like a collab there. I mean, honestly, I work with anybody. People come to me and like, hey, let's do something. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Like, dude wants to make Hormesis dog collars. I said, yeah, let's do it. I'm all ears, and literally.
Yeah, that's what I think is awesome too, is just like you said. I mean, it's that I feel like we're in that grassroots period again, to where it's kind of like a rebirth, not necessarily a rebirth, but it's that opportunity to maybe learn from the past and maybe change some things and grow together as a community. And who knows what the next 20, 30 years can look like.
Yeah, and hopefully all the guys with the real money realize that and can kind of ride the wave together. I feel like there's some good minds at the top of the face of paintball right now, like Tom Cole and Bart Yakimek, and those guys, they truly care. So I'm hopeful that that can happen. And even the guys behind Core Outdoor, which is one of our sponsors, which is a huge company. They've got Billy Saransky and John Dresser and John Rathbun and guys that came from, are cut from the cloth, and I feel like that they'll have a little bit of vision, beyond some venture capitalist guy who's trying to sell as many widgets as possible. So yeah. I'm hopeful.
What do you think business companies or paintball businesses can be doing better?
I'd have to think about that question a little bit more. It would probably depend on the business, but I personally think, I think that people should be investing more money into making paintball cool. I think it's not about really, making us something we're not. Like, I think going after, okay, we're going to be like a basketball broadcast, and people are going to be at home on Saturday night watching paintball, like, live on TV. That's just not who we are. We're a lifestyle thing, right? Like, we're a bunch of guys that basically have regular jobs that go out on the weekend and do this thing together. And some of us, invest so much in it that we practice that thing all the time. And then we end up going to a tournament, and playing against each other there. And some of the guys, yeah, right. You got Ryan Greenspan, you got Alex Goldman, you got, these certain guys that are actually making a living being a paintball player, and that are, hustling and doing clinics and all that stuff, and even getting paid to be on a pro team, which is pretty rare. I mean, by and large, most of the players are, regular people, and then on the weekend they become, a paintball superstar. Like, for me, what comes to mind is this kid, Troy Erickson on Aftermath, and he's a really cool kid, down to earth. I mean, he manages like, several coffee shops in Bakersfield. And, I could just like imagine him like making cups of coffee, and then he gets on the airplane and goes to a paintball tournament, and then he's, gets to live that life, right? Like, he's got a double life. Like, that's what it is. That's what's interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've actually got a lot of good ideas about some projects. It's just to showcase that. And I feel like that's interesting. And, it would be a big investment to do that, but it's, about, like, I remember going to like Warren Miller movies with my dad when I was a kid. It was like a ski movie, right? And every year it would come around, and the ski community would show up at the theater and, like, throw paper airplanes and yell and cheer, and just an experience. That's what paintball is.
Yeah.
Experience. That's what we need to embrace, is what it actually is, and not try to make it something that it's not. We're not Formula One. We're paintball.
Yeah. No, I dig that. That was a good answer. I appreciate that. Okay, so I know you're busy. This is the last question I've got for you. If you could coin duel anyone, past or present, dead or alive, who would it be?
Tyler Harmon, bring it on, baby. He's the best. He's the best. I'm going for the best guy.
Anyone from history you'd like to challenge to a coin duel?
I don't know, John Wilkes Booth.
The one shot. Oh man. Well, awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate you very much for taking the time out to chat with us today. Those are all the questions I've got for you. If you want to do any shout outs to your sponsors or anything like that, it'd be absolutely awesome. But yeah, we're trying to bring the community together and just
That's awesome, man.
shine light on another.
Doing what you're doing. I'm honored to be a part of it, and yeah, I'll come on and help out anytime. And if you ever need a in with somebody you want to get, you can always ping me, and I'll do my best to send them your way.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. And I'm excited too. I'll be seeing you guys in Philly. I get to pit with you guys for the event. So I'm
awesome. I'll see you there. Cool.
Yeah, I'm super pumped.
Hopefully we can get you a W.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm just excited to just be a part of the energy, and just be a part of just the whole. I was talking with Vic, and he was getting me even more excited. So it's just, yeah, it's really
he'd be
exciting.
a great guy to have on. I mean, he's a great businessman. He has a company, an industrial cleaning company. They clean like all the hospitals in Arizona and all the restaurants.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really, he's a bright guy.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely awesome.
We'll get some Dilly Donuts, and we got some Dilly Donuts when we're in Philly, and we can talk to Frank. He's also obviously a businessman too. He's got a Dilly Donut shop.
I'm all about it. We're bringing the RV. We're actually getting ready to move back out west, so we'll be out west after the Philly event for a long while. But yeah, it's just exciting. Awesome. Exciting stuff. Well, I appreciate you again taking the time. Thank you so much, Alex, and enjoy the rest of the evening and the rest of the Philly prep, and we'll see you in Philly.
All right.